Welcome to HistorySimulation.com's American Civil War Simulation Teacher Orientation video. The simulation objectives will have students to learn why the election of 1860 tore the United States apart, the impact of industrialization in the North on the war effort, the impact of railroads on the war effort, the importance of natural resources, and how the South put up a tremendous fight despite its disadvantages. In the first flow chart, we see how the simulation will work. Students will research their state's roles. In the State of the Union and the student overview, the teacher explained the differences between the North and the South. Students then vote in the election of 1860 based on their political preferences of their state. The slave-holding states then meet and secession begins one state at a time. At this point, the teacher explains the rules of the simulation. In the second flowchart, we see an example of the North's war turn and an example of the North's movement turn. Students are following their turns and the teacher is now managing the simulation. The world news reports are released at the teacher's discretion based on how fast the simulation is going. The student overview explains the overall scope and the general idea of the simulation to students. The State of the Union explains to students the situation in 1860 at the start of the simulation, the differences between the North and the South, the amount of railroad infrastructure in the North and the South, and industrial capacity, also the candidates and political ideology of the election of 1860. The leader list lists the leaders in each state in the simulation. Depending on your class size, you can assign multiple states to students to make up any number of small class sizes to large class sizes. The top secret documents for each state tell the student how big their military is, their political party of their state, and their electoral votes. The rating of their state's army is also explained, the summary of their state's situation, and also the goals and objectives that that state would like to achieve in the simulation. The simulation is broken down into 1 day or 1 year. The simulation can be shorter, but cannot be longer than 5 days after the orientation day. So depending on how things move along, it could be from 2 to 5 days long. Here we explain the order of turns. In the beginning, the North will do their war, and then they will do movement. When you declare war, you are attacking other states. You can move forces that are not used during the war movement. And we will go through these turns, as many as we can get done in 1 day. Here we can see an example turn. In the war turn for the Union, we can see Kentucky is attacking Tennessee, Missouri and Kansas are attacking Arkansas, and Maryland is attacking Arkansas. Then we also have movement for the North, and they can move anything that wasn't used during the war phase. The same goes for the South, movement of troops and Navy. The students will have all the rules of the simulation that are written out and that are seen in this video for them to reference. This will also give them a good guide on the way the decision-making process will also be handled in the North and then in the South. World Times articles will be distributed by the teacher at the appropriate times. According to how the simulation is progressing, they may hand those out earlier or later depending on the situation in their particular class in each simulation. Students have questions to be answered. During the simulation, they can work on this. They also have to type out their objectives and explain how they tried to achieve them. If a student tries to achieve their objectives and shows some effort, they usually get full points. If they don't make an attempt or do something that goes against what their objectives were, then they lose those points. They can work on this during the simulation and turn it in at the end. Students will keep a journal during the simulation based on days that are years. Things we want to include are their thoughts, their plans, strategy, significant events. Thoughts, plans, and strategy are the most important. We don't want to see a play-by-play. Here in the example of Georgia, period 2, 1861. We as in the Confederacy have been working hard to convince the Union to leave us alone and that we are ready to fight to maintain our separation from the Union. The North is massing troops all along the Confederate border. We are also trying to move our own troops into position, but our armies move much slower without sufficient railroad networks. Our strategy is to slow the Union down as much as possible until we can build up enough forces to shatter the Union advance. To learn more, go to historysimulation.com.